The voice message wasn't for me. I knew that the moment I hit play, sitting at my desk on the 28th floor of the Frost and Alder building, the city lights bleeding into dusk through the glass. Slack's notification tone had pinged right as I was closing up client reports. It was from Natalie. I figured it was some mundane reminder, grab almond milk or don't forget to call your mom. Stuff she usually sent me throughout the day. But the second I heard her voice, too soft, too syrupy, my stomach dropped. He has no idea. I mean, Jared still thinks I'm pulling 12-hour strategy sessions, she said, a giggle trailing her words. And honestly, I kind of admire myself. I finessed this whole thing so well. Lunches that turn into lab meetings, the migraines when he wants to go out, it's almost fun seeing how far I can stretch it. There was a pause. Then, clearly to someone else, she murmured, you better make it worth it. I'm tanking my whole engagement for you. I just stared at my monitor, not moving. Not even blinking. Natalie. My fiancée. The woman I'd met at a marketing conference 3 years ago in Austin. The woman who slept in my bed every night, whose toothbrush was next to mine, whose ring I had paid for in full. She was cheating. Worse, she was proud of it. I didn't delete the message. I didn't even pause it. I let it play again. Then a third time. I needed to hear every word, every breath to make sure I wasn't dreaming. When it finally ended, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. Not in shock. Not in fury. Just in cold, clean realization. So this is what I've been living with. I didn't throw my phone. I didn't call her. I didn't text some dramatic threat or accusation. No. I sat still thinking. And as I sat there, everything started sliding into place. The late-night team debriefs that she said couldn't be moved. The calendar on her MacBook that had suddenly gone password protected. The fake smiles when I brought up vacation plans. The forced migraines when I wanted to be intimate. I thought back to last Tuesday. She came home smelling like expensive cologne she insisted was from her Uber driver. Right? I stood, stretched, and walked to the window. Below me, the city pulsed with life. People with no idea their world was about to shift. Just like mine had. But I wasn't going to scream. Or beg. Or confront her tonight. No, Natalie was smart. Calculated. She'd covered her tracks well enough to fool me for months. So I'd be smarter. I'd make her pay for her performance the only way that mattered, with truth. And when it landed, it would land in front of the one crowd she could never spin her way out of. Her audience of idols. Let her think she's still winning. Let her keep the act going a little longer. Because I had just begun writing the final act. The next morning, I made eggs like I always did. Natalie waltzed into the kitchen in her silk robe, humming something off-key. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, and I didn't flinch. Oh, you're up early, she said, grabbing her almond milk from the fridge. Everything okay? Yeah, I said easily. Actually, I was thinking. We should throw a little dinner party. She blinked. Dinner party? To celebrate your promotion. I mean, head of strategic initiatives at Brighton Biotech? That's a big deal. She smiled like I'd handed her a trophy. It is, huh? I thought we could invite some people who've really helped shape you professionally. You know, your godparents, Dr. Mara, maybe even Dr. Reeves. Natalie's smile faded just a little. Dr. Reeves is pretty busy. Right, but I think he'd make time for you. You always say how much he's meant to your growth. She looked down at her mug, then back at me. When were you thinking? This Saturday. That's soon. You've always liked when things move fast, I said, taking a bite of toast. Besides, I already sent a few texts. Everyone's excited. Your godmother called it long overdue. Natalie's lips thinned. It's just, I have a company offsite that night. Cancel it, I said, still smiling. This matters more. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I guess it's fine. I could feel her trying to read my tone, but I kept everything easy, breezy, supportive. Just like I always had. The rest of the week, I played the role I'd perfected for 3 years, the loyal, doting partner. I sent out formal invitations, ordered catering from her favorite Mediterranean spot, and had the condo professionally cleaned. But behind the scenes, I was working a different checklist. Tuesday night, I bought a second tablet. Synced it with my Slack account. Wednesday, I exported the voice message. Tested it through the Bluetooth speaker in the living room, making sure the volume was perfect. Not too loud, not too soft. Just right for shock and shame. Thursday, I staged the scene. The tablet hidden inside a hollowed-out cookbook on the bottom shelf of the media console. A shortcut button built into the screen. One tap and her voice would float through the air like perfume. I rehearsed it all in my head, the flow of the night, the moment of the reveal. I even practiced what I wouldn't say. Because silence, I realized, would hit harder than rage. Saturday came. She wore a dark green dress I'd never seen before. Probably bought for him. You look great, I said. Thanks. She eyed the dining room, the wine glasses I'd polished, the centerpiece of white orchids. This is more than I expected. You deserve it, I told her, placing my hand on the small of her back. When her godparents arrived, Natalie lit up. Perfect hostess. Polite laughter, 1,000 thank yous. Dr. Mara showed up last, shaking my hand and calling me impressive. Natalie barely touched her wine after that. Dinner flowed like water. Talk of genomics, IPOs, who got snubbed at which conference. I just smiled and nodded, timing every refill, every course. By dessert, I knew we were close. One more minute. One more course. And the lights would go down. The curtains would open. And the real Natalie would take center stage. The cheesecake was still cold when I stood up. Natalie was mid-laugh, swirling a spoon in her espresso. Her godmother had just complimented her on the elegance of the night. Dr. Mara was nodding along, talking about a board opening at a startup incubator. Natalie leaned in like she already belonged there. I picked up my wine glass and tapped it gently with a fork. The soft chime brought the room to a hush. I just want to say something, I said, my voice calm. Almost bored. Natalie glanced up, her smile already in place. I looked around the table. Tonight was meant to celebrate Natalie. And I think it still will. But not for the reasons you think. She blinked. Jared, what are you doing? I ignored her. Walked over to the shelf and reached into the cookbook. Tapped once. There was a brief pause, a split second of silence. Then her voice filled the room. He has no idea. I mean, Jared still thinks I'm pulling 12-hour strategy sessions. Forks froze. Dr. Mara's eyebrows shot up. And honestly, I kind of admire myself. I finessed this whole thing so well. Natalie's face drained of color. Lunches that turn into lab meetings, the migraines when he wants to go out, it's almost fun seeing how far I can stretch it. Her godmother dropped her spoon. It clattered loudly against the dish. You better make it worth it. I'm tanking my whole engagement for you. Then silence. Heavy. Suffocating. No one moved. Natalie's mouth opened like she wanted to explain. Nothing came out. I walked back to the table and sat down. Didn't say a word. Didn't look at her. Just picked up my fork and sliced into the cheesecake like I hadn't just torn the air out of the room. Her godfather leaned back in his chair, his face stiff. Her godmother looked at Natalie like she didn't recognize her. Tell me that wasn't real, she said, voice low. Natalie swallowed. That was taken out of context. Dr. Mara raised his hand. Don't insult our intelligence. No, wait, Natalie said, voice high, cracking slightly. This isn't what you think. It was a mistake, a joke, kind of. A joke? Her godmother repeated. You called that man your fiancé and then bragged about deceiving him. Natalie looked around the room like she was searching for an exit. I said nothing. Just watched the wine in my glass sway with each tremble of the table. Dr. Mara stood. I think I've had enough dessert. One by one, chairs pushed back. Her godparents didn't say goodbye. They didn't hug her. They walked out without looking back. Dr. Mara paused at the door and gave me a single nod. Not approval. Not sympathy. Just recognition. Natalie turned to me once we were alone. Why would you do this? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I looked at her for the first time that night. Really looked. I didn't do anything, I said. Then I got up, cleared the plates, and let the silence take care of the rest. She didn't follow me into the kitchen right away. I could hear her breathing, shaky, uneven, just outside the doorway while I rinsed off dessert plates and stacked them calmly in the sink. Eventually, her voice came through. Small. Wounded. Jared, please. That wasn't fair. I kept my back to her. Neither was faking migraines while screwing someone in your lab coat. You blindsided me, she snapped, suddenly sharper. You humiliated me in front of people who matter. I turned slowly, towel in hand. So did you. Her lip curled like she wanted to deny it, but she didn't have the energy. She crossed her arms instead. Defensive. I never meant for it to go this far. You never meant to get caught. That's not what I said. No, I said evenly. It's what you meant. She looked away. You think this is revenge? I asked. She didn't answer. Across the room, her phone buzzed on the dining table. Then again. Then again. Her godmother. Her mentor. A couple missed calls, one text, I'm disgusted. Don't contact me again. Natalie stared at it like it had betrayed her, like the fallout was someone else's mess. I can explain to them, she muttered. This was taken out of context, maybe I can fix it. I tilted my head. Still trying to spin it. No, I'm trying to save what's left of my reputation. I stepped closer. You should have thought about that before treating our relationship like a strategy deck. She bit her lip. Her eyes shimmered, but she didn't let the tears fall. Natalie never cried unless she thought it would change the room. Are you really just going to let me drown here? She asked. I didn't push you in. She stared at me for a long time. I could see it, the gears turning. Looking for sympathy, a reset button, anything. You said you loved me, she whispered. I nodded. I did. Then say something. I did, I said. At the dinner table. Natalie blinked, confused. I walked back toward the dining room and picked up the tablet, tucking it under my arm. I said, this reveals the real Natalie. That's all there was to say. When I looked up again, she wasn't in the kitchen anymore. She was in the hallway, grabbing her purse with shaking hands, trying to look composed. I'll need space, she said. You'll hear from my attorney. I raised a brow. For what? Separation. Legal guidance. Whatever. I can't talk to you right now. Then don't. She paused at the door like she expected me to stop her. I didn't. She left without a single goodbye. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel the urge to follow. I slept in the guest room that night. First time I'd ever used it. The mattress was firmer than I liked, and the sheets were still stiff from the last time Natalie had them dry cleaned, but I slept better than I had in months. No soft lies breathing beside me. No late-night calendar pings or whispered excuses. Just silence. When I woke up the next morning, her side of the closet was empty. Not cleaned out entirely, but enough to let me know she didn't plan on coming back soon. Her makeup tray was gone. The framed photo of us in Charleston, too. A few dresses still hung like they'd been forgotten on purpose, probably the ones he hadn't seen her in. There was a note on the kitchen counter. Natalie's handwriting, neat, even, impersonal. Jared, I need space. I've spoken with a lawyer. All communication moving forward should be through legal channels. Please don't contact me directly. Natalie. No apology. No closure. Just a sterile memo from a woman who had once told me I made her feel safe for the first time in years. I poured coffee, took it black. Then I blocked her number, not to be cruel, not to punish, but to protect my quiet. By noon, I had my own lawyer on the phone. A referral from an old client. Her name was Karina, sharp as glass and twice as cold on the phone, which is exactly what I needed. Do you want to file for divorce or wait for her counsel to move? She asked. Let's move, I said. Natalie might have thought she was calling the shots by walking out, but I wasn't waiting for her permission to end what she'd already killed. Over the next week, the texts and calls started rolling in. Not from her. From friends. Mutual ones. Dude, I had no idea. I always thought something was off about her. My cousin works at Brighton. Apparently this isn't the first time she's pulled something like this. None of them were looking to gossip. It wasn't like that. They were reaching out with quiet, delayed honesty, the kind people only offer once the truth is out in the open and the consequences have landed. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel angry either. I just felt lighter. That Friday night, I sat alone on the couch, legs up, a movie I wasn't really watching flickering on the screen. The wine glass in my hand didn't shake. My thoughts weren't racing. And for the first time in months, I didn't check the door at midnight. Didn't wonder if she was working late. Didn't wait for lies dressed up as loyalty. I looked around the condo, the place we were supposed to build a life in, and realized something simple. I was alone. But I wasn't lonely. And that made all the difference. A couple weeks later, I hosted a dinner. Same condo. Same kitchen. Different everything. No sharp lighting, no curated playlists. Just my oldest friends, Devin, Theo, and Marcus, crowded around the island, cracking open beers and trying to one-up each other with bad college stories. The food was simple, homemade pasta, garlic bread, the kind of meal that leaves you full but not heavy. We ate on mismatched plates because I'd boxed up the his and hers dinnerware Natalie insisted on. At one point, Marcus raised his glass and said, to growth. To honesty. And to the man who proved receipts hit harder than revenge. Everyone laughed, but it wasn't cruel. It was warm. Real. I didn't give a speech. I just clinked my glass to theirs and smiled. Later, after dinner, we all migrated to the living room. I dropped into the couch, tired in the best kind of way, like I'd actually lived the day instead of surviving it. Devin nudged me with his foot. Still can't believe you pulled that off with a straight face, he said. You exposed her in front of her Mount Rushmore of mentors. That was theater. I shrugged. I didn't destroy her. She just forgot the mic was on. Theo leaned forward, arms on his knees. You played it like a chessboard, man. I would have gone full grenade. Like emotional thermonuclear. Exactly, Marcus added. But you? You gave her her own words and let the silence do the rest. That's not cold. That's elegant. I thought about that. About how, even now, part of me still waited for anger to show up. But it never did. I wasn't simmering in bitterness. I wasn't itching for retaliation. All I felt was the stillness. The kind you earn, not stumble into. Turns out, I said, you don't need to flip tables to win. Sometimes all you need is to dim the lights and let the truth be seen. The room went quiet for a second. Then Theo raised his glass again. To dimming the lights. We drank to that. As they left, each of them gave me that look guys don't usually trade. That wordless, you good, glance. I nodded back. When I shut the door behind them, I stood in the hallway, the quiet humming again. This wasn't a victory lap. It was the first step into a life I actually wanted. No roles to perform. No secrets to keep. Just me finally living without having to second-guess the ground under my feet. And damn, it felt good. I didn't jump into anything. Not dating, not distractions, not the usual flurry of new chapter cliches. I just slowed down. For once, I let myself feel bored without needing to fix it. On Saturday mornings, I started hiking again. Nothing major, just trails around the state park 20 minutes outside the city. Headphones off, phone in my pocket, listening to nothing but the crunch of gravel and my own breath. No Natalie checking in. No fake meetings to wonder about. 2 weekends in, I signed up for a creative healing retreat just outside Asheville. I told myself it was for the hiking, maybe a chance to get away from the city noise. But part of me needed to remember who I was before the calendar invites and catered lies. That's where I met Anna. She was sketching an old wooden fence behind the retreat center, her fingers stained with charcoal. I passed her 3 times on the first day before she looked up and said, "You walk like someone trying to figure out if they're alone or just free." I blinked. That obvious? She smiled. Only to people who know the difference. We ended up on the same group hike that afternoon. She was a graphic designer from Charlotte. Loved photography, hated small talk, said she couldn't stand people who asked what you did for a living before they asked what you cared about. By the second day, we were drinking coffee on the porch before the others woke up. By the third, we were trading playlists and dumb stories from high school. She never pried. Never asked about Natalie. Never asked why a guy in his 30s with a stiff left shoulder and quiet eyes was suddenly into meditation and journaling. She just let me be. And I didn't feel the need to fill the silence. When the retreat ended, we exchanged numbers, nothing dramatic. No promises. Just a hey, if you ever want to go hiking without a crowd. Back home, we started texting. Then calling. Then meeting halfway between our cities every couple weekends. No pressure. No games. Just long walks and slow mornings. One night, we were sitting in a small coffee shop, the kind with mismatched mugs and too many plants, when she looked at me and said, "Do you think you'll ever talk to her again?" She didn't say Natalie. She didn't have to. I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. Some doors are better left unopened, I said. Anna didn't nod or smile or offer some poetic reply. She just reached for her mug and said, "Yeah. Some are." That's the thing about peace, it doesn't arrive with fanfare. It just kind of shows up when you stop trying to drag your past into your future. With Anna, it wasn't about fixing anything. It wasn't about filling a void. It was about being still and realizing you don't owe anyone your pain. Especially not the people who caused it. The divorce finalized on a Tuesday. No court appearance, no dramatic phone calls. Just an envelope from Karina, my lawyer, with a single sentence printed above the signature line, "All terms agreed upon." No contest. Natalie didn't fight. Not for the condo, not for the car, not even for the engagement ring. She just signed everything and disappeared behind a digital signature and a forwarding address I didn't recognize. I held the documents in my hand for a long time, staring at the bold black text like it should have meant more. But the thing about closure is it rarely arrives with thunder. More often, it shows up like a paper cut, quiet, shallow, but real. That weekend, I burned the documents in the fire pit behind my new place. I'd moved out of the condo a few weeks earlier, not because I couldn't bear the memories, but because I didn't want to keep walking past the ghost of a life that never really belonged to me. The new place wasn't flashy. Just a 2-bedroom house with uneven floorboards, soft light in the mornings, and a backyard big enough for peace. The flames crackled as the papers curled and blackened, piece by piece. I didn't do it out of anger. I wasn't casting some symbolic curse into the night. I just didn't need the weight of those pages anymore. Inside, I was slow to unpack. Not because I was avoiding it, but because this time I wanted everything in my space to be mine. No decorative pillows I didn't pick. No designer lamps I never turned on. No neutral-toned art that matched the couch but meant nothing to me. I took my time. Every shelf, every drawer, every nail in the wall. Everything had to earn its place. In the hallway, I hung a small black frame with a handwritten quote I'd found in a used bookstore. "Truth unmasks on its own. Let it." That was it. No mention of betrayal. No scars turned into metaphors. Just a reminder that sometimes all you have to do is wait long enough for people to reveal themselves. I didn't think about Natalie much anymore. Not in anger. Not in longing. Just distance. Me on this side of it. Her on the other. I blocked her email the day the divorce finalized. Not to be petty, just to ensure I wouldn't be tempted to open something that didn't belong in my life anymore. A few mutual friends tried to bring her up. I changed the subject. Not because I was bitter, but because I'd already said everything I needed to say with silence and a Bluetooth speaker. Now, on quiet evenings, I sit on the back porch with a book or nothing at all. Sometimes Anna visits. Sometimes it's just me and the wind cutting through the trees. I'm not rebuilding. I'm not healing. I'm just living. On my own terms. Finally. And I don't need anyone else to understand why that's enough.